Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about something kind of interesting, a hot button issue in the narcissistic community, really some disagreement on it, and I want to just give you my take on what's really happening here. So as you can see by the title of this video, I call the narcissist an impulsive planner, and then I put oxymoron. Well, I think it is an oxymoron, obviously, to be an impulsive planner, but that's what the narcissist really is. Because let's face it, guys, the narcissist doesn't make sense. There are patterns, and you can talk about them all day, which I and others do, but their mind is a scramble. It doesn't make any sense. There's no logic or reason to much of what they do, and they're under control, and I'll get to that really at the end. But I want to tell you that a narcissist is actually both. They are impulsive and they are a planner. So meaning they do things on the spur of the moment, just fly by the seat of their pants, but they also meticulously sometimes plan devastation for people. So a lot of people will look at this, especially those who are maybe clinical psychologists, those who counsel, especially if they don't have a spiritual lens that they're doing the counseling. There are some really good people here on YouTube with channels that treat, or not treat, but they counsel narcissists, and they have really an amazing amount of insight about what these patterns are that people do. But they don't have a spiritual lens, and so they're missing the underlying core of who a narcissist is and why they do what they do. But they will tell you, a lot of them will say, well, the narcissist doesn't plot evil. They don't plot schemes. They just sort of subconsciously do. It's not a plot to do evil to someone. It's just something they subconsciously develop as time goes on. Well, some of that is true. And like I said, some of it is deliberately and intentionally planned. So let me give you some examples real quick about this. Number one, of why we can be sure on the one hand that much of what they do is intended and planned. Okay, it's intentional. Let me give you just some examples. I could list 1,000. Number one, they wear a mask. That's right. That's right. They take that mask and they take it off and put it on whenever they want. How do you subconsciously do that exactly? How do you go to work all day, for instance, and be joyous and gregarious and treat everybody there really kindly? Granted, some narcissists don't do that, just an example. And then you come home and you maybe close the door to your family, and all of a sudden you're a nightmare. How do you do that exactly? And don't tell me that you don't know that you do that. And don't tell me that you don't plan to do that. A lot of these folks are on their way home from an event or on their way home from work or whatever it is, and they know that they just put on a show all day, and they know that when they get home, they're going to remove the mask and abuse the living daylights out of whoever's at home. 2, gaslighting. Intentional forethought action. I mentioned on here a really great example that I was familiar with, that personal experience, that I also know happens to people all the time. Narcissists are notorious for hiding objects from people, such as keys, wallet, maybe work documents, maybe a cell phone. You know, they're not going to be without their third arm, their trusty cell phone, but they might hide theirs from you, or yours from you, so that they can, well, watch you squirm. So they'll take these things, they'll take keys, wallet, whatever it is, they'll hide these things intentionally, and then they'll watch you squirm and look for them, and they'll pretend the whole time that you're nuts because you just misplace your stuff all the time. And then later, when it's found in some obscure place, or somewhere you've checked 15 times already, you're left going, I thought I looked there, but shoot, maybe I didn't. And you're all disoriented. They planned and plotted to do that. You don't subconsciously hide items for the purpose of gaslighting someone. How about this one? I just did a video on this, if you haven't seen it, I called it The Narcissist Triangulation is Deadly. Go back and watch that one. I really do think it's one of the better ones I've done so far. But triangulation. They will conjure events to invoke jealousy. They know full well that maybe if they bring up individuals enough times, like an ex, or maybe they'll just make up a name from scratch, or they'll say they used to date someone with your name, or they'll make up an event. Or I was at the grocery store and a guy came on to me and he was looking down my shirt, or whatever it is. He followed me around, or I was here and this woman came up and started hitting on me. Whatever it is, they'll do those things so that you're insecure, so that you doubt yourself, you doubt where they're at in the relationship, you get jealous. They plot and scheme those things. You're not going to tell me they subconsciously, just on a spur of a moment, go, poof, I think I'm going to suddenly just bring this thing up. No, they plan it. They plan evil. 4, just as the last example of this, every time that they look on a dating app or on social media, or they look around for somebody else to pull into their lives while they're with you as their backup energy source, or sources, which is usually the case, every time that they roll over in bed or on a couch, or if they're in the car and you're driving and they're over there with their third arm, every time they do that, they know what they're doing. They're plotting to set somebody else up in their lives, either to replace you or just for somebody down the road in case they ever need to monkey branch to somebody else. All of these things, guys, this is just 4 examples, but they plot and scheme to do these things. So on the one hand, yeah, they're a planner. Now, let me tell you also, though, why they are impulsive at the same time. They fly by the seat of their pants, oftentimes, and do the most insane, idiotic things on the spur of the moment. Let me run through some examples. Number 1, they will explore almost any option that comes down the road. They just can't help but do this. Guys, if they're in a relationship, which they're always in some relationship, but even if they're in a consistent relationship for a period of time, and someone comes a knocking on their door, on Tinder, or on Facebook, or Instagram, or whatever it is, what are they going to do? Are they going to turn that person down and ignore them? No. If that person has anything to offer them at all, they're going to pursue it, and they're going to kick the tires, and they're going to see what's there. Because to them, that perfect person could be right around the corner. They can't pass up on the opportunity to invite anyone in their lives and to hypothetically have some kind of relationship, even if it's a backup plan. Because they got to have, as I was told, backups for their backups. Remember that one? So they're going to kick the tires, and that can be spontaneous. They can just be walking down the street or at a grocery store or whatever it is, and somebody's going to come on to them, and even if they're in a relationship, doesn't matter. They're going to entertain and see where that might go. Exchange numbers, whatever it is. How about number 2 of why we know that they're impulsive? They will leave other people instantaneously. You better believe that if they think that person they just ran into, or that person reached out to them on whatever social media is, or whatever dating app you want to say, because they're all over these things, if they think for a minute that person is superior to you, or they're tired of you, or you've lost your glow, your new shiny object appeal, and this person has it, even if they are far lesser quality than you are, they'll jump ship in a heartbeat. No life jacket, no lifeboat. No, they're just going to jump ship. They'll do it in a flash and spontaneously. That's the nature of these creatures. It really is. And I don't like to refer to any person as a creature. But these narcissists don't function like normal human beings at all. They just don't. And they do so intentionally and with forethought, and they do so impulsively. And I'll get to why that is here at the end. How about number 3? their rage fits in outbursts. These things you can trigger a narcissist over the smallest thing, the smallest infraction, anything that you do to just maybe touch upon and graze their sensibilities. If you just push on anything the wrong way, they will fly off the handle. So for some of them, it's a fit of rage. For others, it's a perfect excuse for silent treatment. They're not going to talk to you for 3 days. And what did you do? Maybe you smashed a loaf of bread. Maybe you smashed the end of a loaf of bread on accident, and they're going to throw a fit. Out of nowhere, boom. Maybe you accidentally spilt water in their vehicle. Maybe you were just casually talking about someone else in a situation they're in, and it just struck a little bit of a nerve with them, and they saw themselves for a second in that situation, and you just became their mortal enemy. And that happens in a flash. That's not planned and premeditated, but it can happen instantaneously. You've seen, if you guys have experienced it, they can go from 0 to 60 in a flash. So fits of rage. 4, they can end things with a person, it's connected to this, over the slightest offense. If you truly love someone, which they cannot do, if you love someone, you would never dream of ending the relationship over a minor offense. In fact, if you're like me, and many of you are watching this, you are all in on a relationship. When you go in, you're invested. You're not holding back from that person. You're trying to build something with them. And you're trying to treat them the way that you would love for them to treat you. And give them love, and you want to get love in return. But for the narcissist, it doesn't work this way. You offend them even just a little bit. And this goes back to an earlier point. You offend them just a little bit, and they are messaging that person they just met at the store. They're messaging an ex from 3 years ago. A lot of people refer to this, including Dave at Narcology Unscripted. If you haven't seen Dave, man, he's really good. They refer to it often as a harem garage, because they have a whole collection of people sitting back there that never got over them, that they have kept in their lives, and they always want to keep everybody in their life for this reason. They can go back and dip into that harem garage, and that they never lost contact with, really. Because guys, let me just throw this in there as a bonus. If you didn't already realize this, narcissists are never, ever faithful. Even if that means that they may not be physically cheating, though they likely are or will be at some point. Even if they're not, they are always communicating with somebody else. I've heard that, again, I heard that directly, and I know this to be true of them. I was talking to other people the whole time. Sometimes they're honest. Believe me, all of them are doing that. So, the slightest offense puts them back into the harem garage or on a dating app looking for something new, and they can just drop you immediately. That's impulsive. That's incredibly impulsive. Even though they've been grooming people in the background or keeping up with them, their sudden desire to go into the harem garage, or whatever you want to call it, their supply sources, energy sources, that's very impulsive. Oftentimes. Sometimes it is planned for a long time, don't get me wrong. But a minor offense can send them packing. 5, last one I'll give you for the sake of this video. They can get married or engaged or enter a sexual relationship with someone like we're cracking an egg. Just like in the blink of an eye, no forethought whatsoever to it. They can run off and they can get married instantly, or they can get engaged instantly. And you guys have seen this. Drop comments if you've seen any of this stuff, or you have your own examples. I'd love to just compare them and see what you guys have to say. But they do this with marriage. They do this with engagement. They hop into bed with people extraordinarily quickly. They have no morals. They have no values. They don't care. Even if they fake it, they don't care. But that is proof of how impulsive they are. So impulsive. They can end a marriage in a flash because it meant nothing, and they can get married in a flash because it means nothing. Imagine that. It's so foreign to people like us, but to them it's second nature. It's subconscious, and it's effortless. So guys, those are some examples. I hope you understand just in these that really the narcissist is an impulsive planner. It's not a question of do they do this flatly out of impulse and subconsciously, or do they do these things intentionally? The answer is yes, it's both, depending on what it is. And remember, as they develop their narcissistic traits more and more throughout their lives, and they become more and more, as I always say, that evil vortex, they develop these things. And as they go through their lives, they do become more and more and more subconscious. Because you just do what comes natural to you after a period of time. Do they still plot evil? Yes, they still plot evil. They're always going to do that. But the worse they get and the older they get and the more they refine and hone their skills, they are going to do things more and more subconsciously too, or impulsively. So, as I always say, narcissism is a spiritual disorder. If you don't think there's a huge spiritual component to this, or that it's even the driving force, then you're not totally understanding the picture here. You're not seeing the whole thing. You might ask, how can it really be then? And I'll wrap it up. How can it be that these people are so impulsive and yet so deliberate in the things they plan oftentimes? How can it be both? Well, the answer is, going back to what I said, it's a spiritual disorder. These people are taken over by demonic forces. They are. They have been given over to a reprobate mind, most of them, and most of them are seared. Their conscience is seared. And so what is controlling their mind at all times are these evil beings. They are Satan's foot soldiers. They are Satan's wind-up toys that he sends into your life. And so their thinking is completely disoriented. Yes, they can sit back and plot and scheme, and at the same time they can do these things incredibly impulsively too, because their mind is all over the place. It never rests. That's why they're on their third arm all the time. That's why they don't sit still. Even if you have a kind of a lazy one, and they're all lazy in some ways, but even if you have one that doesn't go out a lot, or they don't appear to be always doing something, maybe they're not the type that wakes up at 6 and goes running or disappears every day. Maybe they like to sleep 12 hours, and guess what though? Every waking second is spent doing something. So guys, their mind is disoriented. Their mind is a disaster. It is an enigma. We can understand the characteristics and the traits and the patterns that they do, but as far as when, where, and all that, it's a jumbled mess. As I say, don't even try to understand it fully or think that you're going to crack every code, because their mind is demonic and it's a mess. So guys, that's my answer to the question. Are they impulsive? Or are they extremely intentional in what they do? The answer is both. The narcissist is an impulsive planner. Believe it. So that's what I got for today, guys. Thanks a lot. I'd love to hear from you and drop comments and things. And I'll keep putting this out and trying to shed light on everything. I know that there's a lot of us now starting to do this, and there's been channels for years doing this. Thank God for that. But having been through it, I want to do what I can to expose it and to help anybody out. So I hope you do the same by sharing this or sharing other videos, and just being a part of the community that is growing in awareness and helping to enlighten other people. So anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Until I do another video, God bless.